Hello, everybody. I am excited to be here. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator at Edpuzzle, and I'm going to help you level up your Edpuzzle skills and hopefully give you some information that you'll be able to enjoy using every day in your classroom. My goal is not to give you any lofty things to be used at some point when you actually have an extra hour of time of day, which we all know will never happen in education. I hope that you'll be able to take some tools to use immediately tomorrow. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All righty. So there I am. Today we're going to explore some specific ways to implement Edpuzzle for differentiated learning, leverage some features like embedded questions, audio notes, comments, etc., and learn about using Edpuzzle for group work and stations. So I'll show you a little bit in a little while about how there's some research out there that talks about how a lot of times our class management difficulties and challenges actually stem from things that we can manipulate in the classroom academically. So I do hope to be able to help you out, because one of the things that we're hearing consistently is that kids came back from COVID differently, or that the challenges in the classroom as far as restorative practice, behavioral issues, all those things are more challenging than they have been in recent years. So hopefully some of what we learn will also help you with that. Now, this is one of my favorite little new starter questions. There are quite a few new features this year on Edpuzzle. Now, there's some auto-magically stuff happening there, and I am hoping that you may have encountered some of the stuff that's there, maybe even used some of the things that there. So you can drop an answer in the chat, what's new that you've heard about, or that you've used, or even that you think you might want to learn about today. So put on your KWL hat, and I will be looking forward to hearing from you for a moment. Give you about 30 seconds to drop some things in the chat. And by the way, hello to everyone. Some of you are here on Streamyard and some of you are in YouTube. And also welcome to those who will be listening to the recording for LTC once this live recording is done. We're glad you're here as well. Oh, right, screen record. So that's a new feature, screen recording is now integrated in the actual Chrome extension, so that if you want to use a video and then actually add a little something of your own, or if you want to build your own content on the platform within Edpuzzle, you can do that too now. So I'm loving that one, because you don't necessarily have to use, I won't mention all the different names, but you don't have to go to an external tool, then download, then upload. You can do it all in Edpuzzle. So, fewer clicks, less cognitive load. Oh, multiple attempts on assignments. That's also an excellent one. A lot of times in the past, we've thought about, here's your test, pass, fail. But we're starting to see that the goal is not to pass or fail. The goal is to learn. And so giving your kids more at-bats gives them a chance to actually be successful and get to a place of mastery. All right. Thank you all for sharing. I'm looking forward to, yeah, baby, home run. We got this. Looking forward to sharing a little bit more. And please, if you have questions, this is not a wait until the Q&A thing. Just pop it in the chat. And I've got wonderful people. CW from Illinois is here, and Matt's here, and they are going to be facilitating any questions. So if I am talking and watching my slides and not with you, we got you. So please feel free to stop anytime. Stop me with any questions you have. Now, using Edpuzzle for differentiation, and I'm going to go ahead and pop on screen full time. Yes, please. There. So you can see more than a postage stamp size of me. Edpuzzle can be used for differentiation in a lot of creative ways. I actually was going through some of the older posts from teachers, some previous posts from teachers who've posted some of their work to Edpuzzle, and I am just always overwhelmed with the creativity that comes from educators. Well, most of us think about Edpuzzle in a flipped classroom kind of a setting, and we do have that. You've got your use a video as primary instruction, and then use the questions to assess knowledge, either formatively or summatively. But how about this one? Everybody's got those kids that they're done. I'm done. I'm done, Miss Nichols. What can I do now? Miss Nichols, Miss Nichols, Miss Nichols, what can I do now? Well, honey, I just assigned it 5 minutes ago. I'm trying to help this. Yeah, I know, but what should I do? I'm done. So what are we gonna do with those kids? You are going to extend their knowledge. If you don't know what a choice board is, think bingo. You've got your basic grid, and in that grid, you've got several different things that a student can do after finishing. A lot of teachers are already using this, but if you don't, it's really easy to set up. Literally, you can set up a grid on a plain old doc, on a slide. You can put up, you have younger students or pre-readers, you can build it out on a slide where you put pictures, and you can make the pictures clickable. So let's talk about clickable. Adding a link to a picture is just like adding a link to a set of words. You highlight the image or highlight the sentence, and then you go and copy your link from wherever it is in another tab, and then you add that link to your document. So if you're making a choice board, you do this 6 times, 9 times, 12 times, and your students will have constantly a place that they can go to do early finisher work that extends their learning. So then you've got additional, let's say you've got a super fast reader, you've got a 4th grader who's actually capable of doing things on the 6th grade level. Go pull a 6th grade Khan Academy video and put some work in there for that student. It's already set up for you. You just need to add the link. Another way that you can use Edpuzzle for differentiation is on the socio-emotional side. Now, this part is huge. Going back to what I was saying, students have come back different. They came back different. We didn't see these issues before. These weren't the kinds of behaviors we're seeing before. One of the things that we are forgetting is that if you teach between 4th grade and 12th grade, you have students in your classroom who may have been the effective adults in their classroom, especially if you teach in a less resourced area where parents were essential workers and kids were at home on their own. You've got kids who were cooking and helping to tutor younger siblings. And then we simply said, thanks for your work, sit down, shut up, now be a student again. And once you've had that much autonomy, it's hard to sit in a classroom and now give all of that autonomy up and say, okay, you lead me. You tell me what to do and I'll just do it. So a lot of the behaviors we're having is because kids do not really get to express themselves or guide their own learning. And the thing we're seeing is a lot of dysregulation. So when you're talking about your socio-emotional learning, first of all, Edpuzzle has wonderful original content that talks about feelings and those kinds of things, but you can also pull together just a nature video, cut it down, take the nature video, and then ask restorative practice kinds of questions. So if you have a student who's dysregulated, instead of saying, go sit in the quiet corner and think about what you did, you get to say, go sit in the quiet corner and open up the lesson. And so students can have a place where they can say, what happened? How am I feeling right now? These are questions you can put in. These are questions that you can generate using excuse me, the Edpuzzle new automatic question generating ideas. And you can ask your kids, so they're not just sent away or sent out of the learning community, they're actually sent to something. And that can make a big difference in how a student comes back out of that timeout setting. Another way you can use Edpuzzle for differentiation is going to be assessment. Of course, you do get a lot. I think that's kind of the meat of what people think of for Edpuzzle. We're talking about using the formative using this Edpuzzle, formative assessment questions inside, or summative questions throughout a video. That's an easy one. Live mode. Now, live mode is something new. If you think of Quizalize, or if your kids like Kahoot, you can now use Edpuzzle like that. And I'll get into it a little bit later. But I know who doesn't love new stuff, right? So I absolutely love using live mode because you can set it up so that the questions are perhaps more clever. You can set it up as a station. But again, we'll get into live mode. I'll show you exactly what that looks like a little later in the presentation. If you have language learners, and again, I'm hailing from Texas. Please forgive me. I hail from Texas. But what I find is we have a lot of pockets of places in the country where different languages are spoken. The one thing about Edpuzzle I'd like to highlight is that we also have content in Spanish. Excuse me just a moment. Take a moment and drink. Hydration is good. Now, where was I? Yes, audiobooks. So there are read alouds in English. There are read alouds in other languages. In Spanish, I found read alouds in Arabic. I found read alouds in German. There are tons and tons of that kind of content. So you can find some of the classic titles on YouTube, upload them into your content area, your library in Edpuzzle. And if you have students who are, especially Rael is recently arrived English learners. If you have students who are Raels, you want to be able to assess knowledge. You want to be able to assess content knowledge without having language as a barrier. So that gives you a great opportunity to use that. I'm going to get back to that a little bit. Now, this is your time. I am an expert, but certainly on this call, I am not the expert. I think that practitioners who are in the trenches every day, you guys are way smarter than I am. I've been out of the classroom 2 years, and that's already an eternity. So this is our little Padlet. Go ahead and use your phone, log into the Padlet, and tell me how you organize your class time to account for different learning paces. What I'm hearing from teachers over and over again is that the pacing guides are often not adequate to allow for differentiation, or to allow for asking questions or scaffolding up to close in some of those gaps. So tell me what you're doing in your classrooms right now that is helpful when it comes to differentiation. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes on the clock and let you tell me some good stuff. All right. Wonderful. Now, thank you guys for thinking with me. Again, a lot of times we have wonderful people coming from all over teaching us things, but the bottom line is sometimes the best PD is the teacher right across the hall. Now, going back to what I said about behavior, research has shown us, and I think most teachers would be able to tell you this as well, that students with higher rates of challenging behavior are often experiencing lower academic achievement. When we are sending kids out, they're missing instructional moments. When we are, and a lot of times we find that the kids who are struggling are the ones more likely to be dysregulated out of frustration, or more likely to be disruptive, to either balance out the feeling of feeling inadequate, or again, from just feeling generally dysregulated. Also, 43%, and honestly, I believe this would be a low number, but it's a National Center of Education survey, and it says 43% of public school teachers reported that challenging behavior affected their teaching. And a lot of us are losing our colleagues to other professions simply because the behaviors are so challenging. This is why differentiation is so important. Oftentimes, it's not the student, it's the lack of engagement with the student. And if we can meet kids where they are, if we can find a bridge to their own interests, and if we can find ways to let them drive their own learning, ways to let them show learning in ways that a way that's interesting to them, then we get fewer behaviors in a classroom. So I would like to say, differentiate. I know you don't need one more thing on your plate, but hopefully today is going to help you. So why Edpuzzle? I mean, there are lots of tools, there are lots of things. You got all of this. You've got 30 kids. You've got 5 with an IEP, 3 with a 504. You've got 2 who you think probably have some things going on, but they don't have any kind of special accommodations. You've got several kids who speak other languages. What does a teacher to do? How can you increase student autonomy while holding students accountable? How can you support individualized and differentiated learning without working a 24-hour day? Let Edpuzzle be your TA, baby. Okay, I'm done. So this is the easiest thing to do is to go ahead and download the Chrome application. Most of us, if you are an infrequent user, you probably go to YouTube, find the link, go back to Edpuzzle, copy it in, and then add your questions. You may also search YouTube through Edpuzzle. But did you know that you can make this a one-step process? If you simply if you look up here right at the top where that little black puzzle, not the Edpuzzle puzzle piece, but that little black puzzle piece. Here, let me go ahead and put this up so you can see it very well. There. Now, if you see right at the top of your screen next to the URL is the search bar. Right next to that, between the search bar and where your little circle with your profile picture is, there's a puzzle piece. And that black puzzle piece is how you manage your Chrome extensions. So I'm going to let this little GIF play, because the cool thing is, okay, get ready for it. Not only will you be able to use the Chrome extension to edit any video you find online on YouTube, you will also be able to record, to do your screen recordings within Edpuzzle. So I'm telling you, when I tell you we are trying to save you time, we are trying to save you time. And oh, thank you, CW. The extension, the link is right there. You beat me. I have it up too. It's right there. So you can add that so that you don't have to go, again, you don't have to go to YouTube to get a link. You can do it it'll have a nice little edit with Edpuzzle on YouTube. And that's one of my favorite things. Let's see what that looks like. I'm going to stop my screen. I'm going to pull up regular old YouTube, and we'll look and have some fun. So here we are. We're on YouTube. I've hopefully already downloaded. Here's my little manage my extensions, use the link, all of those things. I've already gotten my extension. Here's my little extension that says Edpuzzle Chrome extension is here. And I am going to pick this wonderful autumn morning relaxing. This is the one I'm going to do for my socio-emotional learning. So here we are. I've got a very long video. I'm going to put it play it on YouTube. Stop that. Where are you going? Where is it? Oh, that's interesting. My button's not showing up inside the app. So my little button is usually here on Streamyard. And once I edit it, I simply go back to my YouTube and I'm back to my Edpuzzle, and I can assign that video to a student who is perhaps dysregulated. I can add questions that ask a student how they're feeling. And you already know how to add all those questions. So that's the easy part. Now, I wonder where my little button went. Well, I'll have to figure that one out next time I'm in Streamyard. Now, this is the part you've been to our Padlet once, so you know how to find it. You know where it is. You can scroll back up to the link. This is the place that you get to win prizes. I can talk to you about differentiation. I can show you how I differentiate. I can give you lots of ideas, but I want us to get some practice. Now that you've got your Edpuzzle button, what I'd like for you to do, and we're going to take about 10, yes, baby, prizes. I've got the new, previously unreleased Edpuzzle stickers just for LTC educators. All right, so I want you to go into your Padlet. Open up another tab. You want to go into YouTube, and I want you to choose whatever your content is. Let's say I'm an ELA teacher. I teach 5th grade language arts, and I have some struggling readers. So I need to present a concept about poetry, and I need to explain it very simply. I'm going to go and find a 3rd grade or a 2nd grade video that talks about that concept, and I'm going to fly that into my library. I have, of course, a couple of kids who are just absolutely off the charts, and they are always looking for extra work. I'm going to find a 6th or 7th grade video for those students. And that way, this whole Padlet is now going to serve as a resource for all of us, because it'll have all of these collection of videos. So I want you to go 2 grades down and 1 grade above your grade level on whatever concept it is that you choose. All right, add those videos to the Padlet. Let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. All right, we have, oh, look, there's already stuff there. We've got literacy, numeracy, science, humanity, tech, PE, the arts. And if you are an adult learning coach, you can also find, for example, if you're using Edpuzzle, I could put up the beginner, the level 1 training, or what used to be called level 1, the beginner training, or I can even put up a coach or advanced training. And that way, my teachers don't all feel like they have to come together and learn at the same pace. If I put all of those classes up, they each have a chance to learn at their own speed, and then we can do whole group activities and practice together. You can even use mentoring. The advanced people can help the beginning people. The beginning people may have ideas that the advanced people may not yet have. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes, starting in about 30 seconds, to add to this Padlet. Here's an example, using an Edpuzzle original for poetry or dramas, ready to use with questions embedded, but you can edit them and provide a more customized experience. Love it. All right, so do that. And if you can, find me some Edpuzzle original about a poem that we can actually use, and try to find me one that's a little below your kids' grade levels or a little above. All right, I am going to start the timer, and Matt's going to put on some music, and this is your time to work. While you're finishing that up, I do want to show off my jacket. If you have been in an Edpuzzle training with Manny, Super Manny, then you have seen that sequins are a part of the brand. And so as an Edpuzzle person, as you can see, I got drip. I'm blinged out. So I hope that you've all enjoyed that. All right. That is time. Thank you again for sharing your resources. If you come up with ideas or videos, what I'd love to see is a few more links to those videos so that we can, again, collect a library of work for kids who are advanced, work for kids who are at grade level, and work for kids who need a little more support grasping the concepts, because sometimes it's not the concepts, it's the delivery, it's the vocabulary, the deficit in literacy and reading comprehension. And so if we can skirt those things, we can still get kids on grade level for a lot of other things, for other contents. All right, now let's talk a little bit about station rotation. What I see with younger teachers is sometimes it takes a knack to organize. So this is just a general school thing. If you are a seasoned teacher and you know how to run stations well, please go and visit a younger teacher and share your knowledge, help them with those processes. Because one of the things I do see is that's a hard one to set up. So how do you use Edpuzzle to make that a lot easier? First of all, you do have to have your students understand how to use and take good care of devices, understand how to move around the room with devices or to devices. So let's assume that those things are already in place. What you're going to do is perhaps together watch a video as a whole group. So you put the video on the screen as opposed to them watching individually. And then you can let students go ahead and answer the questions each individually. You can do that with live mode. If you'd like to have them watch individually with headphones, they can do that as well. But if you have them answer the questions to the concept, you can check out the data to see, okay, where do I want to send to whom? Who do I send here? Who do I send to station 2, station 3? And then this is what I would do. I would set up Edpuzzle lives on all my stations. And that way I could send a student leader to each of those and have the groups run around. Now, I know you're thinking my class is not big enough for that. Well, if you can get to the cafeteria in the mornings before lunch and use that space, it's a wonderful space. Don't tell them I told you. All right, so you can look at the data in real time, especially if you're using live mode or individual viewing, and you'll see exactly where it's an automatic check for understanding that informs your teaching right then. So once you get that data, you can pull together, you've already decided, actually predetermined what videos you need them to watch next. And depending on where they are, if they need, let's say it's a numeracy concept and you have students who are struggling with a basic skill that goes to, let's say you're having students struggling with times tables and they're doing long division. You can actually get your kids, some of them, to go and practice a live times table video that you've already set up. So let them work on that while your other kids are working on long division. And then you might have another group who can do long division with remainders. So you have your kids around the room working in small groups there. And that way you also have a place where a time and a place where you can pull your small groups and you can decide which group needs your most immediate attention. And then after those stations are done, you get to come back together and do checks for understanding. Because again, since they've worked on stations, you'll be able to see the data. You'll be able to see what they've been doing, what they've achieved. You can even combine those videos with paper if you'd like to do that as well. But you get data immediately, which informs the next day. Do I need to spiral back? Can we go on? And that's going to contribute to mastery. Let me put this up. I'd like to show you this wonderful slide. You have your examples, your ideas, like have your student run a live session. And actually, even if you are running the live with the whole group, let your students do it. Believe it or not, that kid who might be having a hard time wanting to be engaged, if that particular student is running the live, you've automatically got elevated engagement. Now, I don't know if you know this, and I know there are a lot of languages, but what Edpuzzle offers is content also in Spanish. And if you have RAELs, recently arrived ELs, English language learners, you can have concepts that are taught in Spanish so that you can really do a comprehensive knowledge check. Again, that language barrier, language is not knowledge. Language is not content knowledge. Long division doesn't need any words. So if you need to assess that, you can look for Edpuzzle content in Spanish to help your students, or you can look for YouTube content and upload those so that your kids can keep learning while they are acquiring English language. All right. Got your practice with oral responses. When you're talking about differentiation, there's so many reasons to use oral responses. There could be it could be an English language learner. There could be a person who is differently abled, who needs to speak instead of type. It could be that you have a student who simply needs to practice speaking and listening. So there's a lovely little toggle button when you set up your assignment, and all you have to do is toggle it on or off. Allow verbal responses, allow oral responses, or don't allow oral responses. Now, this is one of my absolute favorite uses of Edpuzzle in a large group setting, using it for gallery walks. Let's say you've done student projects on Edpuzzle, which I'll get to in just a little bit. You've done your student projects and kids have things up on Edpuzzle. Well, you may now go around and load those projects up, have everyone load them up, and instead of having students sit and use them, everyone gets to have 3 or 4 minutes at each station, each individual station. And what I like to do when I'm doing that is to use a note card, set it up so that every student has to give feedback on each individual video or project that they've seen. So put some prompts up on the board, how to give 2 stars and a wish, or I liked this because you could work on this point because, put up some good prompts. But that gives everybody a chance to be engaged. And again, when students are engaged, there are fewer behavioral problems, and all of the students are learning. It's not just yes, the same 3 or 4 or 5 kids. Every student is engaged. Now, when we talk about engagement, we also talk about what are higher level learning activities. And we used to say, when we talked about Bloom's, we talked about evaluation being the highest, but now we're talking about creating. And so that's why we're finally here. Student projects. You don't have to be the one to go and find Edpuzzles. You don't have to be the only one creating Edpuzzles. When IR comes next year, you want to do spiral reviews, that is the perfect time to let your students put together those reviews, put together review materials in a video, in a rap, as a poem, as a skit. If you can get your kids to do that kind of work, not only are they deepening their knowledge, then you get a whole lot more fun than if you give a kid a work packet and say, okay, these are the things we're going to be tested on, go home and practice. So have your kids upload their own videos, have them select one from YouTube and edit it, have them do their own. And go ahead and have them they can add questions, they can add notes, that same hyperlink thing that we were talking about when we were talking about putting together choice boards. Teach your kids to use highlight, Control-C, Control-K to add a link, and let them make their own hyper documents. Let them put notes in so that students have not only the answers to questions, but also external resources that will build up their research skills. And when kids are when they're discovering their learning, they are so much more likely to retain the knowledge that they are actually synthesizing to give to others. Now, as a teacher, you can choose really good, authentic learning experiences, because again, you're not giving a word problem. You're telling your students to create a learning situation to explain a math concept. And that's real authentic learning. It's creativity, it's higher level learning. And my favorite thing about this is there is a wall, not a paywall. There is a safety wall. So the question is, I see, do students, put that one up again for me? Yes. Do students need to be added to an Edpuzzle class in order to use projects? Yes. You will not only add them to your regular class, you will add them to a special student project class. And that class you have jurisdiction over. It won't end up, the videos that they do won't end up in the regular pool. So if you go and search for information and you're not in that classroom, you won't see them. So there's no problem with student data. There's no problem with students not finding, with students being found or their work being found. It's only in-house. So you have your own safe place for them to upload their videos. That I think is so valuable. Now, you asked where. This is how you assign student projects. I'll give you about 30 seconds to look. You just create a classic class and you can assign the student project through that classic class. You can give them the link. And again, you are in control of who has access to that content. It does not go into the regular pool of Edpuzzle videos. Now, here are a few ideas. Analyzing a poem, having them demonstrate how to solve a math problem. One thing I've noticed is that if your kids all know how to video, if they want to do a math video, using a bathroom mirror is a great place to actually record. You generally have to flip it, but that's a suggestion that you can give your kids for those who want to actually do a math video. They can prepare and do their own TED Talks on concepts. They can talk about literary concepts as a TED Talk. If you have a humanities class, when you talk about concepts like why did we have the Civil War in America, have them use evidence from their research material and present a TED Talk. That way, kids can go through and watch 3 or 4, especially if you're on a quick pacing guide. Sometimes projects take a lot of time when you want kids to present individually. When they present on YouTube, when they present within Edpuzzle, you have the opportunity to say, okay, we're all going to watch 3 videos. So every student is watching 3 videos, or student groups are watching 3 videos. So then you get a 15 to 25 minute loop as opposed to a 3-day loop where everyone presents live. Recording an experiment. I think somebody actually said that. Could you get that banner up? Someone mentioned that and put it on the Padlet. Live experiments is great for live mode. We can all do the experiment together and walk through the steps in real time. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. That's a great idea. All right. We are coming to the end. So if you have some ideas, go ahead and share those in the chat. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Now, the last thing I would like to share with you before we finish up is Student View Live View. Is this not amazing? If your kids like Kahoot, they are going to love Student Live View. You'll, again, watch together as a class, but everybody will have their device up, and you can do this again individually, or maybe you want to do it with 3 or 4 kids together around one device so that they can collaborate and confer on the answers. So you get a chance to do completely individual, or a chance to do this collaboratively or almost competitively. That you can decide. I love to gamify anything. So I would love to do live view with several student groups. And then the first group on the board gets a point. First group on the board gets a point. And of course that group gets, I don't know, extra recess, or they have to boss around the other kids, and the other kids have to do all their classroom jobs, whatever your prizes are. Of course, that's not candy, because we're not giving out candy in classrooms. I do know that. All right. So we do have live originals, Edpuzzle originals. I do want to let you know about that. And any wonderful thing that you want to learn, if you check out the website or watch Edpuzzle on social media, there are free boot camps that are coming up. So if you want to learn the logistics of how to do anything today, you can go and take a level 1 course or a more advanced course, and that way you can deepen your knowledge. And those are just free resources that we provide, because we want, if you're using Edpuzzle, we want you to be able to use it quickly and to not let it be an additional thing to stress about. All right, if you have questions, I would love to go ahead and take those right now. If I missed any, that would be terrible to have missed any questions, but go ahead and do that. Oh, yeah, I love that one. Student projects allow the students to take ownership of their work. And again, We find that when students are actively engaged and driving their own learning and not sitting and being told what to learn, how to learn, when to learn, and how to show that learning, you get kids who are, one, learning more, learning faster, closing those educational gaps, and they're engaged and happier. And the two, the live I did tonight, I did a blog. It's on Edpuzzle if you'd like to go check it out. There's a survey that they took of students that said that students are bored and stressed. Those are the two things that students feel the most. So when students have a say in how they're learning, you get less boredom, you get less stress. So I am hoping that you will let Edpuzzle, oh, thank you, there it is, it's right there. And by the way, if you are a lower elementary school teacher, I hope that you'll join us live tonight. I'll be with second grade teacher and author Melissa Hayes, and she'll talk about how she does student projects with second graders. Yes, young learners can also drive their own learning. All right, in case you have more questions or in case you're watching this after, for the next couple of days, for sure, I will be looking, if you put at Edpuzzle and at Hedrick, I will definitely do a search and see if you have any questions. If something glitches or doesn't work or you're not sure how to get it to work, this QR code will send you straight to our support team where they can help you with any kinds of IT kinds of glitches, any kind of technical glitches. And I would like to say a big thank you to LTC for having Edpuzzle here. I am so happy to be working with Illinois educators. Again, please join us here live anytime you see us popping up. And if you have questions, I will be available. We'll be checking the hashtag Edpuzzle or at Edpuzzle at Hedrick for any lingering questions that you have. All right, I'm going to give it back over. Matt, you want to have final words?
Hedrick, once again, thank you very much for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.